question number 1. Question number 1. So we have the universal set, which is even numbers between 1 and 25. So we have set A, which is 2, 8, 10, and 14. B is equal to 6, 8, and 20. And C, which is equal to 18, 20, and 22. So, you know the numbers that are in each circle or in each set. So, what we need to do, we have to complete this Venn diagram. So, to do this is very, very, very simple. So, to work out like the intersections, you have to work out the common numbers. And this over here, this intersection over here, this part over here is when there is a number common in all 3 of those letters or those sets. So as we can see, we have an 8 common in C, in B, and in A. So there's an 8 common in all 3 of these sets. So we know that 8 is going to go in the middle intersection, okay? So we've done 8, let's cross that out. And now, once we have done that, we need to now find the intersection. Let's see if there's an intersection between B and C. Let's see if there's an intersection between B and C only. So B and C, you know that the 20 is common. So you know that 20 is going to be over here in the intersection. So let's cross that out. And then let's see this intersection between A and B. If we look at A and B, there is no intersections. There's no common numbers. So we're going to stay like that. And then let's look at A and C lastly. There is no common number. So once you have done that, once you worked out if there's a common number or there's no common numbers, then the remaining numbers, you put them into their own circles. So we have A, going to be 2, 10, and 14. And then we have B, which is just 6. And then we have C, which is 18 and 22. And that is, we haven't really completed our Venn diagram because we know that our universal set is even numbers between 1 and 25. So let's write the even numbers between 1 and 25. So the even numbers between 1 and 25 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and goes on to 24. So the numbers that are remaining are 4, 12, 16, and 24. Those are our remaining numbers, and then they go outside of our Venn diagram, but this needs to be inside the box, okay? Because as you can see, we have this the universal set sign over here. So this sign over here, the universal set, this means that you need to have every single number inside your Venn diagram, okay? So that was literally it. Our Venn diagram completed, and look at that. It's worth 4 marks for our first question on the paper. 4 marks. That is a lot of marks to get. And guys, just to let you know, whenever there's a Venn diagram question, it's always followed up with a part B, which probably wants to ask you the probability of something. So a number is chosen at random from the universal set. Find the probability that this number is a member of A intersection B. A intersection B. What this means is the numbers which overlap in A and B. So this sign over here, this symbol over here means intersection. So A intersection B. So let's see what how many numbers there are between A intersection B. As you can see, if I highlight the intersection part from A intersection B, as you can see, A intersection B, this is the part where A and B intersect. This is the whole part. Okay. As you guys probably know, there's only one number between A intersection and B. There's only one number. So we know that there's only one number, so that's going to be our numerator. And in total, there are 12 even numbers. There are 12 numbers. We count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? There are 12 common numbers. That's going to be our denominator. And that is going to be our probability. 1/12. Okay? So the total marks for question 1 was 6 marks in total. Very, very easy. So this is Venn diagram notation. So if you want to look at that, that is called Venn diagram notation. That is the topic for that one. So give a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to move on to our next question. So, we're going to our next question. So, scene has information about the heights in centimeters and the weight in kg of each of 10 rugby players. He's asked to draw a scatter graph and align a best fit for this information. Here is his answer. Scene has plotted the points accurately. Write down 2 things that are wrong with his answer. 2 things that is wrong with his answer. So the first thing you can easily spot is that his line of best fit is drawn inaccurately. It's wrong. So the line of best fit is drawn incorrectly. That will be his first mistake. And then the second mistake, if you look carefully on the x-axis, you can see it's going to be 140, 160, 170, 180. It's going up in increments of 10. But as you can see, this goes in increments of 20. It goes up in 20, but then it goes to 10. Then a 10 again. That means his mistake is that 150 centimeters is missing from the height scale, okay? Or from the height axis, the x-axis. I'm going to say x-axis. And that will be your answer. So this question was worth 2 marks. 2-mark question. Moving on to our next question. We have question number 3. So BEG is a triangle. As you can see, this is our triangle BEG. ABC and DEF are parallel lines. So these 2 are parallel lines. Work out the sides of angle X. Give a reason for each stage of your working. So we are trying to find this angle right here. How do we do that? So the first thing we can work out is that this angle over here, we can work out this angle right here. So we know that this is a straight line. So we can work out angle BEG. So angle BEG will be equal to 180, because angles in a straight line add to 180. So we know that 180 minus 110, then minus 25 will give you 45 degrees. That will be 45 degrees. And remember, we have to show each stage if you're working. So then we actually have to write angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Now, once you have done that, moving on to our next one, we can work out what ABE, so angle ABE is equal to. As you can see, these 2 are parallel lines, and this line is goes through those 2 parallel lines. So if you know the rule of co-interior angles or alternate angles, you can work out angle ABE, this angle over here. We know that alternate angles are equal. This angle over here, so this angle over here, is alternate to this angle. So we can work it out. Or what else you can do is that these 2 angles are co-interior to each other. But I think the alternate angle rule will work. So we have ABE, so angle ABE, which is equal to 45 plus 25, which is going to be 75. It's going to be 70 degrees, sorry. So it's going to be 70 degrees. I'm going to write alternate angles are equal. Alternate angles are equal. How is it 70? Because if we do 45 plus 25, that will give you 70. That will give you 70. And know that alternate angles are equal. This angle is alternate to this angle over here. That is why they are equal to. That's a rule. That is an angle rule. So alternate angles are equal. Okay? So, once we work that out, then we can work out what this angle over here is. So in the chat, can someone tell me what angle we're going to be using to work out this angle over here? So angle EBG, angle EBG. So we're going to be using angles on a straight line. It adds up to 180 degrees. So we're going to do 180 minus 70 minus 35, which will give you 75 degrees. So we know that this angle over here is equal to 75 degrees. So now we've got 75 degrees. So we're going to write angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So now we've got that. And now we can finally work out our angle X. Our angle X right here, we can finally work it out. So how do we do that? We know that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. To work out our angle X, we're going to have to do 180 minus 75 minus 45. So 180 minus 75 minus 45, which will give you 60 degrees. And then the rule is, so you know that angle X is 60 degrees. So the rule, I have to write angles in a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So angles in a straight line, or on a straight line, sorry, on a straight line, add up to 180 degrees. And that is our 4 marks question done. That is a very easy 4 mark question to get on angles. Most of the time, angles on a paper are either worth 4 or 5 marks. You just need to know your rules and apply them to your diagram and work out your angle. So, and guys, do not forget to share this live to your friends, as it will help them as well. And do not forget to follow if you already haven't, as I do live every single day. So, moving on to question number 4. So Northern Bank has 2 types of accounts. Both accounts pay compound interest. So the cash savings account has an interest of 2.5% per annum, and the shares account has an interest of 3.5% per annum. Ali invests £2,000 in the cash savings account, and then Ben invests £1,600 in the shares account. Work out who will get the most interest by the end of the 3 years. You must show all your working out. So you guys remember to calculate the paper so we can use multipliers to work this out. So let's see how much Ali has. So we're going to work out how much Ali has. So Ali, he invests £2,000 in the cash saving account, this one. See, he has £2,000, and we have to times it by 2.5%, but we actually have to times it by the multiplier. So can someone tell me in the chat? So if we are increasing by 2.5%, what is going to be our multiplier? Multiplier, okay? Using a calculator is going to use our multipliers, okay? This is paper to 2018. So it's going to be 1.025. Going to multiply it by 1.025. And remember it says by the end of 3 years. By the end of 3 years, this means that we have to do it to the power of 3. To the power of 3 over there. And then we're going to work it out using a calculator. You will get, at the end of the 3 years, you will have 2,153.78 in his bank account. Now, this is how much he has at the end of the 3 years. But we need to work out how much he earns, how much interest he earns. So if he had 2,000 at the start and in the end he had 2,153.78, we know that he earned he earned 153. He earned 153.78 interest. Okay, that is how much interest he earns. That is Ali's interest. So now I have to do the same thing but with Ben. So with Ben, he invests 1,600 into the shares account. So we start with 1,600, and the interest rate for the shares account is 3.5%. So in the chat, what's going to be our multiplier? What is our multiplier? If it's 3.5%, we're increasing by 3.5%. Remember, interest is when we increase it. So it's going to be 1.035. Well done, guys. It's going to be 1.035. And remember, it is for 3 years. It's going to be to the power of 3. Once you have gotten that, that is going to be equal to 1,773.95. Okay? So once we have got that, we need to work out how much interest he earns. Okay? He starts with 1,600, and at the end of the 3 years, he has 1,773. So when you subtract the starting amount with the end amount, you get the amount of interest he earns, which is going to be £173.95 interest. And now it says work out who earns the most interest, basically. So Ben earns £173.95, and then Ali earns £153.78. So we know that Ben earns the most interest. So our answer is going to be Ben. Okay? So one of you guys for getting that correct. So why is it 1.05 and not 103.5? Because we're using multipliers, and multipliers is a trick used when you're using a calculator. So multipliers is always just like that. If you times it by 135, you will know that it will be incorrect. Okay. So moving on to part B, it says in the third year, the rate of interest for the shares account is changed to 4% per annum. Does this affect who will get the most interest by the end of the 3 years? Does this affect who will get the most interest by the end of 3 years? The answer is a big no, because Ben already has earned the most interest, and then he is the one that has the shares account. If he earns more interest, that means he will still have the most amount earned. So I'm gonna write Ben will earn more interest, and then Ben already has more than Ali. So Ben already has more than Ali. So that was a 5-mark question. 5 marks. Question 4 was 5 marks. Yes, very, very easy. This is question number 4, by the way. So moving on to our next question. So give a thumbs up in the chat if we're ready to move on to our next question. And guys, do not forget to follow Adi Live every single day and share this live to your friends. Share this live to your friends. So, question number 5. So the diagram shows a flaw in the shape of a trapezium. John is going to paint the floor. Each 5-litre tin of paint costs £16.99. 1 litre of paint covers an area of 2 meters squared. John has £160 to spend on paint. Has John got enough money to buy all the paint he needs? You must show how you got your answer. So the first thing we have to do is we have to work out the area of the trapezium to know how much paint he actually needs. So to work out the area of the trapezium, so the formula to work out the area of trapezium is going to be a plus b. So the two parallel sides, so a plus b divided by 2 times the perpendicular height. Okay, that is the area of the that's the formula to find the area of a trapezium. Now, once we have gotten that, so we know we have to going to substitute the values in to work out the area. So we know that it is going to be set 10 plus 16 divided by 2 times the height, which is 7, which is then equal to 91 meters squared. Okay, that is our area of the trapezium. Now, what we have to do now is we have to work out how much paint he needs. So we know that 1 liter of paint covers an area of 2 meters squared. So we're going to do 91 divided by 2 to work out how many liters of paint we need. So we're going to do 91 divided by 2 to get 45.5 liters of paint, which is needed, okay? Okay, 45.5 liters of paint is needed. So we know how much paint we need. Now we need to work out how many tins we need. So how many of these tins we need. We know that 1 tin has 5 liters in it. So we're going to do 45.5 divided by 5. Okay? And then you know that we'll have 9.1. 9.1. So then you know that we can't have a 9.1 tin. So we're going to round it up to 10 tins in total. So with 10 tins of paint. So now we've got 10 tins of paint. What we need to do, we have to do 10 times dot how much 1 tin cost. So 1 tin costs £16.99. We're going to do £16.99 times in it by 10 to give you £169.90. So you got £169.90. Does he have enough? So it says John has £160 to spend. So does John have enough? The answer is no. He has £9.90 net less. So the answer is no. That is his total cost, £169.90. He has £160, so he does not have enough money. And that was a 5-mark question again. And guys, remember you can use a calculator for this paper. It's paper 2. You can use a calculator for this. That's why I didn't use the column method to work this out. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you guys that whatever you type in your calculator, you have to write it on the paper because that does count as working out. Okay. So moving on to our next question. So guys, give us a thumbs up in the chat if you understand this question and you're ready to move on to our next question, number 6. So where I get the 9.1 from, because we did 45.5 divided by 5, which gives you 9.1. So 45.5 is the number of liters needed, and divided by 5 because that is how much 1 tin has. And then you work out how many tins you got, okay? So moving on to our next question. We have A is the point with coordinate 5, 9. And then B is the point with the coordinates D, 15. The gradient of the line AB is equal to 3. Work out the value of D. So to work out the value of D, we have to use the formula of the gradient. So in the chat, does anyone know the formula to work out the gradient? I'm going to give you a clue that it has the Y and the X involved. It has the Y and X involved. So it's going to be change in X divided by the change in Y. So you can write the gradient, which is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? So we got that. Well, once you've gotten that, what we need to do, we're going to substitute our values in. We know that our 5 is going to be our x1 value, 9 is going to be our y1 value. and then D is going to be our xt value, and then 15 is going to be our y2 value. And now, once we have done that, we're going to substitute it into our formula. So we know that's going to be y2 is going to be, so our gradient is equal to 3. So 3 is equal to y2. Y2 is 15 minus y1, which is equal to 9, over xt, which is d, minus 5. So now we've got our equation. Now we have to rearrange this to find the value of d. So the first thing you're going to do is that you're going to quickly simplify this. So we know that we can do 15 minus 9. 15 minus 9 is equal to a 6. So we're going to write it as, so this can be written as 3 is equal to 6 over d minus 5. And then once you have gotten that, what you would do is that you would multiply by d minus 5 from both sides. So times d minus 5 from both sides, we're going to get rid of our denominator. And then you would have 3. Let's go over here. So we have 3, and then brackets d minus 5 is equal to 6. And now once we have gotten that, we're going to expand this out. So how did I get a 6? It's because 15 minus 9 gives you a 6. So I just wrote that in as like simplified basically. 15 minus 9 is 6. Okay, there's paper to calculator. And now we're going to do, we'll expand our brackets. We're going to get 3d minus 15 is equal to 6. Okay, 3d minus 15 is equal to 6. And then what we're going to do, we are going to add 15 on both sides. When we add 15, you're going to get 3d is equal to 21. And then, if 3d is equal to 21, we know that d is equal to what? Guys, tell me in the chat, what is d equal to? What is d equal to? If we do 21 divided by 3, what is d equal to? Yes, it is 7. Well done, guys. It is 7. So then the value of d is 7. So that was a 3-mark question. Well done, guys, for getting that correct. So, give a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to move on to our next question. So, question number 7. So we have to write the number 0.00, so 0. Then 4 zeros, 8623. So how do we do this? I'm going to write this. I'm going to go 0.0000, then 8623. So to write this in standard form, we know that our first number has to be between 1 and 10. So the only way our first number is going to be between 1 and 10 is when our first number is 8 it's going to be 8.623. We worked out that our first number is going to be 8.623, and you know that in standard form it's always over to 10 to the power of something. Now we have to work out our missing power. How do we do that? So we know that we have to go from this number to 8.623. Okay, I have to go from this number to 8.623. How do we do that? So we know that we are starting from 8.623. We're gonna like count how many spaces backwards we have to go. Or what else you can do is that you can actually start from here and work your way backwards. I think this way is better. So we're gonna go start from the 8 over here, count how much steps we're gonna go back. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 steps backward. So this is backward, it's going to be negative 5. It's going to be 8.623 times 10 to the power of negative 5. So guys, you can also do the method when you move the decimal place. That method works as well. Or you can do the method that I just did, moving the numbers. Once you got your value of this number over here, then you're good to go, okay? So now, once you've done that, part B is you need to work out this. You have to give your answer in standard form correct to 3 significant figures. So to work this out, basically, what you need to do is first of all write exactly this, type everything the same into your calculator. When you put into your calculator, the calculator will give you 7441979.07. It will give you 7,441,979.07. Now, once you've gotten that, we have to write this as standard form. Standard form. But before we write that standard form, we have to quickly round this to three significant figures. So in the chat, can someone round this number? So there's 7,441,979, and that is a 0.07. Write this. Can someone round this to three significant figures for me? Let's see if you know how to round. Three significant figures. Yeah, it's going to be 7,440,000, and then like that. It's going to be 4 zeros at the end, okay? Now, once you've gotten that, well done guys for getting that correct. Now, once you've gotten that, we have to write this in standard form. So, as I told you guys, our first number is always between 1 and 10. So, we know that our first number has to be 7.44. 7.44 is going to be your first number. Now, once you go in 7.44, you know there's a point here. We're going to write 7.44 over here. And now we have to work out how many spaces we have to move our 7 or either number to match this number over here. So we know that we have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces to get to this 7 over here. And then you know that it's going to be times 10 to the power of 6, okay? Move 6 spaces up to get to our 7. It's going to be the power of 6. Since we're moving to the left, it's going to be a positive power. And in this case, it was a negative power because we're moving to the right. Okay? So that was a 3-mark question. So give a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to move on to our next question. And guys, do not forget to follow I do live every single day. You don't want to miss out. Okay? Let's reach my live goal for today. So moving on to our next question. We have question number 8. So triangle P is reflecting the line y is equal to negative x to give triangle Q. Triangle Q is reflected in the line x is equal to -1 to give triangle R. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle R to triangle P. So the first thing we have to do is we have to quickly draw triangle Q over here. To draw triangle Q, first I have to draw triangle Q that I'm supposed to mean triangle R. So you're supposed to draw triangle R first, but you have to draw triangle Q, then you can draw triangle R to find the transformation. So we know that triangle P is reflecting the line y is equal to negative x. So y is equal to negative x is over here. So y is equal to negative x is this line over here. So y is equal to negative x. So we know that's going to be going down like that. Okay? Then we know that we're going to reflect this P to shape it to Q. And then when we reflect this, it will go to over here. So it's going to be reflected over here. And then it's going to be from here, 4 spaces down, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that will be your triangle. Reflected like that. Now that is going to be triangle Q, reflected on the line y is equal to negative x. So now we've gotten that. Now we need to reflect this triangle we just reflected and reflect on the line x is equal to negative 1 to give triangle R. So we know that x is equal to negative 1 is this line over here. X is equal to negative 1. This mirror line over here. And when you reflect it, you will have the triangle over here. It's going to be over here. So it's going to be from here to there, like that. And then let's draw it. And you would have it like this. And now you've drawn your triangle. It is triangle R. We have to write the single transformation to describe the the fully distinguished transformation that maps triangle R to this triangle, to triangle P, to this angle over here, this triangle over here. So the first thing you will know is going to be a rotation. So in every doing rotation question, you also have to write how many degrees it is rotated and what is the center of rotation. So the rotation is going to be 90 degrees anti-clockwise, okay? It's going to be 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And our center of rotation is going to be 1 minus 1 to 1. Okay, that will be our center of rotation. Okay. How do you work it out? So we know that we're going from triangle R to triangle P. So what you would have to do, there's actually no method to work out the center of rotation. What you have to do is you have to use like a scaling paper, a tracing paper. The one that's kind of like see-through, the tracing paper. You will have to literally use that tracing paper to work out what the point of the center of rotation is. Basically, the center of rotation is when you put a pencil on the tracing paper and you turn the tracing paper to work out what is going to be the rotation center. So I think there is a video on this on my YouTube, or you can find a video on YouTube how to work it out. So you can they give you tracing paper, okay? Because if I go over here, it says you are allowed. It says tracing paper may be used, so you're allowed to use a tracing paper, okay? The only time you use a tracing paper is always that rotation question, okay? Okay. If they don't give you a tracing paper, you can ask for one, okay? So that's how you would do it. Now we have question number 9. Martin truncates the number n to 1 digit. The result is 7. Write down the error interval for n. Write down the error interval for n. Does anyone know what the word truncates mean? What does the word truncates mean? Does anyone know? Right? Tell me in the chat if you guys know what the word truncates mean. So when we truncate a number, it's basically finding the estimate for the number without doing any rounding. It's basically not rounding, and you're just finding the estimate for the number, okay? So we have to write the error interval, so he doesn't round anything. He doesn't round it. He just says it's 7. So we know that our number is 7 is greater than or equal to 7. So our number is going to be greater than or equal to 7. Okay. And then it's going to be x, and then it's going to be 8. Okay. So we know that our number has to be between 7 and 8. But for the 7 one, the inequality for 7, it's going to be a greater than or equal to sign because it can be equal to 7 as well. Okay. That is literally our error interval. Okay. So give a thumbs up in the chat if you understand. I'm ready to move on to our next question. Okay. And guys, double tap the screen. Double tap the screen as well. So, we have question number 10. Robert makes 50 liters of green paint by mixing liters of yellow paint and liters of blue paint in the ratio 2 to 3. Yellow paint is sold in 5-litre tins. Each tin of yellow paint costs £26. Blue paint is sold in 10-litre tins. Each tin costs £48. Robert sells all the green paint he makes in 10-litre tins. He sells each tin of green paint for £66.96. Work out Robert's percentage profit of each of the green paint he sells. So we know the ratio to make the green paint. So to mix from yellow to it's from yellow to blue. You mix them together, and the ratio to make green paint. So we need to work out how much paint he uses, how much yellow paint he uses, and how much green paint, how much blue paint he uses to make that green paint. Okay. The first thing we have to do is we have to work it out. So we know that he uses for the yellow tins. We know that there's 4 tins. With the yellow tins is 5 tins. We need to work out how much tins he actually buys. To work it out, we have 50 liters of paint by mixing the liters. We have to share this 50 liters in the ratio 2:3. So to basically share it, does anyone know what we do when you have to share a 50 liter? Do we like convert it to milliliters or something like that? What do we do? Does anyone know? We have to work out how much the liters of yellow paint and how much blue paint he needs. Okay. How do we share it? So what you would do is that we have 50 liters. We have 50 liters. We're gonna convert it into 50,000 milliliters. Okay, it's 50,000 milliliters. Or I think the better option is just gonna be leaving it to 50 liters. I'm gonna do 2 plus 3 to give you 5, and then 50 divided by 5 is gonna give you 10. It's gonna be the ratio of 20 liters to 30 liters. Okay, 20 liters to 30 liters. Okay, that is yellow paint to blue paint. And remember, guys, when you mix something up, the mass increases. Basically, add mass. That have you heard of the conservation of mass in your science lessons? That is basically the same thing. Okay. But it says over here that yellow paint is sold in 5-liter tins, and then each tin of yellow paint costs £26. So we have to do 20 divided by 5 to work out how many tins he needs. 20 divided by 5 is gonna give you 4 tins. You will need to 30 divided by 10, which would give you 3 tins. Okay. Now we worked out how many tins he needs. Now we're going to work out how much it costs to buy those tins. So, for the yellow, he needs 4 tins. So we're going to do 4 tins multiplying it by 26. That is how much 1 tin costs. So 4 tins times by 26. You get that is equal to £104. Now, once you've gotten £104, we'll do the same thing with the blue tins. So we're going to have blue tins over here, which is equal to 3 tins for the blue, multiplying it by £48, which is equal to £144. Now, once we have done that, the total cost, we have to work out the total cost. To work out the total cost, you just add them together. The total cost is going to be equal to £248. To basically add them together, that is £248. And now it says green. We know that Robert sells all the green paints he makes in 10-liter tins. So we know that total cost £248. Green paint is sold in 10 liters, okay? So we're gonna do 10 times £66.96. Okay? or how actually is there's 50 liters. There's gonna be 5 of them what he makes, okay? It's going to be 5 green paints, okay? It's going to be 5 tins of green paint because we know that it's sold in 10-liter tins. It's going to be 50 liters divided by 10 liters. Going to give you 5 liters. So they're going to be 5 tins, okay? 5 times £66.96 is going to give you £334.80. And now once we've gotten that, we have to work out the profit. To work out the profit, you just do £334.80 minus 248. So 300 to the profit is going to be equal to £334.80 minus 248, which will give you £86.80 in profit. And now once we have got your profit margin, we have to work out the percentage profit. So in the chat, do you guys know how to work out the percentage change? The formula for percentage change or the percentage profit? So the percentage profit, to work it out, is going to be the change over the original amount times by 100. So the change is going to be £86.80 over the original amount, which was 248, times in it by 100. And when you put this into your calculator, you will get 35%. And that is going to be your percentage change, and that will be your answer. And that is Robert's percentage profit. Okay? That is his percentage profit. So well done, guys, for getting that correct. That question was worth 5 marks in total. Question 10 was worth 5 marks in total. So, moving on to question number 11. So how we work this out is that, so we're going to move on to question number 11. So, in a restaurant, there are 9 starter dishes, 15 main dishes, and 8 dessert dishes. Jeanette is going to choose one of the following combinations for a meal: a starter dish and a main dish and a dessert dish, or a starter dish, a main dish, and a dessert dish. Show that there are 1,335 different ways to choose the meal. So, to work out this one, to work out the combination of this, the first one, so the starter and main, the combination of this one. Does anyone know what the product rule for counting is? Product rule for counting. Basically, we're using product rule for counting for this one. So, we're going to do that. So, the starter and the main dish. There are 9 starter dishes in total. 9 times 15 main dishes. That will give you 135 total combinations, okay? And then with the same thing with the starter, with the main and dessert dish, which is going to be main dish has 15. There are 15 main dishes, times in it by 8 dessert dishes, and that's going to give us 120 combinations, okay? So basically, we're working out the total combinations that there are. And then lastly, with the third one, we have the starter dish. So starter plus the main dish plus the dessert dish, which will give you times all 3 together, going to be 9 times 15 times by 8, which will give you 1,080 altogether. Now it says that we have to show that there is 1,335 different ways to choose the meal altogether. The last step you just have to do is you just have to add them together. So we're going to do 135 plus 120 plus 1080, which will give you 1335 degrees. Not degrees, sorry, total combinations, okay? And that is showing this. That was a 3-mark question. A 3-mark question. Well done, guys, for getting that correct. So, give a thumbs up in the chat if we're ready to move on to our next question. So, question number 12. So now it might get a bit harder, like the questions in general, because we've done half the paper. Moving on to the other half, the questions are going to get a bit more difficult. So we have to write 4x squared minus 9 over 6x plus 9 times by 2x over x squared minus 36 in the form ax plus b over cx plus d, where a, b, c, and d are integers. So the way we do this is basically have to do the same thing when you're multiplying fractions, but in this case we're multiplying algebraic fractions. So we're going to do the same process. We're going to multiply both the top numbers and the bottom numbers. But before we do that, we have to factorize them, okay? We have to factorize them. So we have 4x squared minus 9. So we have 4x squared minus 9. The way we factorize this, we know that this is a difference of 2 squares. A difference of 2 squares, we know that we're going to use our a plus b and a minus b brackets. So it's going to be 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. That's our factorized numerator over there. And we're going to do the same thing with 6x plus 9. Now this is going to be a one single bracket factorization. That's going to be 3 on the outside, going to be 2x plus 3. And then lastly, we're going to factorize this one over here, our denominator of the second fraction, which is going to be x squared minus 3x. And you're going to factorize the x out for this one. It's going to be x over x minus 3. Now, once you have factorized every single numerator denominator, which you can factorize, and then you're going to put them together in the fraction. It's going to be 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3, which is over 3 and 2x plus 3, which is times in it by 2x over x minus 3. And now once we have done that, we're now going to put them together. We're going to put them together now, because when you're multiplying them, you multiply the numerators and the denominators together. And when you put them together, you will get 2x and then 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3 over 3x, 2x plus 3, and then x minus 3. Remember, guys, these two will multiply together to form 3x, okay? And then we're not going to expand them out, because as you can see now, some of these brackets cancel out. So in the chat, can someone tell me which of the brackets cancel each other? Just either write 2x minus 3 or write 2x plus 3, or either of the brackets. Which one of them cancel out? Yes, it's the 2x plus 3, because they are the same both on the numerator and the denominator. So I'm just going to put across like that. And then we are just left with, let's go up here. So we are left with 2x and then 2x minus 3 over 3x and then x minus 3. And now once we have done that, what we are going to do is that we can cancel one thing as well. What is the other thing we can cancel out? in looking at this algebraic fraction, what is the other thing we can cancel out? Remember, this is the bracket altogether. We cannot cancel these brackets out, or we can't cancel the things inside the bracket unless they are the same. You're going to cancel out this x over here because x and x are here. So we're going to cancel these two x's out. So these two cancel each other out. And then we are finally ending up with 2. And then 2x minus 3 over 3 and x minus 3. And to finally write our final answer, we're going to multiply now. Multiply, expand the brackets to get a final answer of 4x minus 6 over 3x minus 9. And that is your final answer. Okay? This is like a very long question, but it's worth 3 marks. 3-mark question. So, moving on to part B of the question. So, another algebraic question. So, what's the highest mark you can get in a question? So, the highest mark is like the six markers. There are 6 markers, okay? In the maths exam, there are 6 markers, but most of the time you see 5 markers. But I think in the end, most of the time there are 6 markers on the higher paper. So, part B, you have to express 3 over x plus 1 plus 1 over x minus 2 minus 4 over x. So what we have to do, we have to find the common denominator like that, okay? Common denominator. So to find the common denominator is that we have to like multiply all of them together. So when we multiply all of those denominators together, we get the common denominator. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply all of them together. So we're going to get 3x. We're going to have 3x and then x minus 2 over x. We're going to have over x plus 1 over x minus 2. Basically, we're multiplying the numerator and denominator to find out the common numerator and the denominator, okay? Then plus x and then x plus 1 over x plus 1, x plus 2 minus 4x plus 1 and then x plus 2, x minus 2 over x plus 1, then x minus 2. So you got the common denominator. When we change the common denominator, we had to change the numerator as well to multiply whatever you had multiply with the denominator. So now once you have done that, we're going to put this whole thing together as one fraction over the denominator, okay? Where's how do we get the numerator? So as you can see for this first question, we are multiplying by x minus 2 and x. And multiplying by x minus 2 and x. Because we have our x plus 1 here, it was already there. X plus 1 was already there. We have x minus 2 and x. So the x, we do 3x. So we do 3 times x, you get 3x. And you multiply by x minus 2. So wherever you multiply the denominator, you multiply by the numerator as well. And that's how you would do this, okay? And now once we have done that, we're gonna put over a large fraction. So we're gonna have x, then x plus 1, x minus 2, sorry. I remember this is a minus 2 over here. I accidentally wrote plus 2. It's gonna be a minus 2 over here. It's gonna be over every single numerator, okay? So we're gonna have 3x. I'm gonna start with, it's gonna be a long fraction, okay? But the denominator, the numerator is gonna be a bit long. So it's gonna be 3x, x minus 2, then plus x, then x plus 1, minus 4, x plus 1, and x minus 2. And now once we have done that, now we're going to expand every single individual bracket. and we're gonna do 3x times x, we're gonna get 3x squared. Why do we times it by x? So we multiply it by x is because we have a x over here. To get the common denominator, we have to multiply every single denominator. And when you multiply every single denominator, we write it like this. So basically, I didn't expand the bracket, I just wrote them together like that. That's why we have an x there. And whenever you're multiplying a number with the denominator, you do the same with the numerator as well, and that's why we get these numerators. So now when we expand it out, we're gonna have 3x squared minus 6x plus x squared plus x minus 4, and then x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2 over, which is over x, that same denominator we gave. Okay, that is going to be the same denominator. Okay, I think this question might be a grade 9 algebraic fraction question. Okay, algebraic fraction question. It might be a grade 9 one. And now, once we've done that, we're gonna actually simplify this even further. So when you simplify it, I actually don't even have enough space. But when you simplify it, it's gonna be where should I write it? So guys, do you want? Can I rub this part out? This purple over? Can I rub it out? Do you guys need it? So I have space on the paper. So yeah, I rub this part out. Okay. So once you've done that, we're gonna simplify this. So then you're gonna do 3x squared plus x squared to get 4x squared. 4x squared minus 5x. So simplify everything. It can't be that hard. Minus 4x squared plus 8x minus 4x plus 8 over that same denominator. Okay, says it was x plus 1, x minus 2. Okay, and now once we have done that, we can then we're gonna cancel. We're gonna like simplify even further now. So you guys can notice that we can do 4x squared minus 4x squared. 4x squared minus 4x squared will cancel each other out. So that's going to give us 0. Then minus 5x plus 8x is going to give you 3x. Minus 4 is going to give us negative x. That's going to give us negative x, and then 8, that's going to give us 8 minus x, okay? So when you simplify this, your final answer, that's right over here, is going to be 8 minus x over our brackets, okay? In this case, you do not need to expand our denominator, as that is our common denominator, okay? That is our common denominator, because you have to multiply each one of those denominators to find that common denominator, okay? And that will be your answer. The question number 12 was worth 6 marks in total. So for 3 marks for part A and 3 marks for part B. Can expand if you want to. I don't think you will lose marks if you expand it, but I think you can expand if you want to. You can expand if you want to in the end, but you will not lose marks if you do expand it, okay? This is going on to my YouTube channel. Yes, it will go on my YouTube channel after this live. So moving on to our next question, we have question number 13. What is my YouTube code? It's just called Majestical Maths, just the same thing. The link is in the bio. If you go into my bio, you will see the YouTube link over there. You can go and click that. It will lead you straight to it. I only have like 47 subscribers. No one subscribes to my YouTube channel. That's why you need to subscribe. So, yes, this is higher paper 2 calculator. So you can use the calculator, okay? It's 6 marks for A and B altogether. But this part B individually is 3 marks, and part A individually is 3 marks as well. Altogether, there are 6 marks. Question number 12 is 6 marks, okay? So, I think you should never skip a question on your exam. If you do not understand the question, and if it's like a 5-mark question and you do not understand what you need to do, just waffle on the working out. Just write anything you think you need to do. Write a formula. You will get marks. Do any calculations. You can get some marks. You can get like 2 or 3 marks, okay? So, moving on to our next question. We have the diagram shows a circle and an equilateral triangle, as you can see in the diagram. One side of the equilateral triangle is the diameter of the circle. The circle has a circumference of 44 centimeters. Work out the area of our triangle. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So the first thing we have to do, we have to work out our diameter of our circle. To work out the diameter of the circle, we know the circumference is 44 centimeters. So in the chat, does anyone know what is the formula to work out the circumference of a circle? Is pi times something. What is the formula? The circumference is going to be equal to pi times the diameter, which is now equal to 44 centimeters. And then what we're going to do, once we have done that, we're just going to now divide. I'm going to divide it by pi. So we're going to have the diameter is equal to 44 over pi. Now that is our diameter, okay? That is our diameter. And now, once we have done that, since we do not know the height of our triangle, what formula are we now going to use? What is the formula we're going to use? And we do not know the height, so just remember that we do not know the height. So what formula we're going to be using to work out the area of our triangle? The area of the triangle is going to be half, and then AB sine C is going to be this formula over here. We know that in an equilateral triangle, every single angle is 60 degrees. This is going to be 60 degrees. This is 60 degrees. And this is 60 degrees as well. And now, once we have gotten that, we know that each length is the same. So we know that this length over here is 44 over pi. That means this length is going to be 44 over pi as well. And it's going to be 44 over pi as well. And now, once we have done that, what we're going to do now, we're going to put this into our formula. So we know that this is going to be equal to half. A is going to be our side. A is going to be 44 pi. 44 over pi. Then B is going to be 44 over pi again. Assuming that they are equal in length. And then it's going to be sine 60 degrees. So now, once we have done that, you're going to put this into your calculator. Then your calculator will give you an answer of 84.9. And I rounded that to 3 significant figures because that's what the question says. And that will be your answer, 84.9. And guys, remember, if you do not know the length or the height of a triangle or the base of the triangle, you have to use the formula half AB sine C to work it out, okay? This question only comes up on the higher paper, so this formula is only used on the higher paper, okay? So give a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to move on to our next question, number 14. So, could you have half the triangle and use Pythagoras to find the height? Well, I wouldn't do that way. I would stick to the area of the triangle because that is the easiest method. Because then you will waste lots of time. And I don't think you will get the mark if you use the Pythagoras theorem because the mark scheme says you have to use the area of the triangle, half AB sine C, that formula. Okay? So, question number 14 on the grid, sketch the curve with equation y is equal to 2 to the power of x. Give the coordinates of any point of intersection with the axes. Why do you put 60 degrees instead of 44 over pi? So, why do you put 60 degrees instead of 44 over pi? It's because it's sine 60 degrees. Sine, there's always the angle is always 60 degrees, okay? Whenever there's a sine, that trigonometric ratio, you always use that sine. You always use the angle, okay? You always use the angle. So, are you ready to move on to our next question? So on the grid, sketch the curve with the equation y is equal to 2x. I'm going to write that again. It's going to be y is equal to 2 to the power of x. Gives you the coordinates of any point of intersection with the axes. So the way you would draw this is that it's like sketching the graph. So we know that this is a graph, and then we need to work at the point of intersection. So the way when it intersects, we have to work out the point where it intersects. Okay. So whenever something intersects with the y-axis, we know that the x-axis will be equal to 0. So 2 to the power of 0 will give you 1. So we know that the point of intersection is going to be 1 over here. That is the point when it will intersect our this is the point when it will intersect our axes, okay? This is paper 2. And you guys should know that this type of graph, this index graph, always makes this shape like this. So our graph is going to be like this. And then when it hits the intersection point, it's going to go up like that, okay? And that's going to be our graph, okay? Why is it 1? Because 2 to the power of 0 is 1. Because if our x-axis is 0, then our y would be 1, okay? And now to sketch the graph, what you would do is that you're gonna like imagine that this is like labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then -1, -1, -2, -3. You substitute it in, and then you like draw like the estimate curve like that. Okay. Remember, it says it's a curve, so it's not gonna be a straight line. It's gonna be a curve. Okay. And that will be your easy 2 marks. 2 marks, just like that. So let's give a thumbs up in the chat if we're ready to move on to our next question. So, question number 15. The equation of a circle is x squared. The equation of a circle x squared plus y squared is equal to 42.25. Find the radius of the circle. What if it was 2 to the power of 2? Then the y intercept will be 4. Then because 2 to the power of 2 is 4, then the y intercept will be 4. Okay. So we know that the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And r is our radius. R is our radius, okay? If r is our radius, we have to work out the radius of circle when it's substitute our equation over there to work out the value of r. Okay? This is paper 2 calculator 2018, I think. 2018 past paper, okay? So then you were just going to do the square root of 42.25. The square root of 42.25, it will give you 6.5, okay? And that will be a radius, okay? That will be the radius. That is 1 mark. You just have to do the square root, okay? Because you know that the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to 42.25. And then you do the square root of 42.25 to get only the r value. Because you know that's r squared, okay? Just need to know the formula for the equation of a circle. This is Edexcel. It's Edexcel. So moving on to question number 16. Can I also do OCR higher papers? Okay. When I'm done with my Edexcel papers, then I might do AQA and OCR as well. Okay. From time to time, I actually do AQ and OCR as well. So moving on to question number 16. There are only red counters and blue counters in a bag. Joe takes at random a counter from the bag. The probability that the counter is red is 0.65. Joe puts the counter back in the bag. Mary takes at random a counter from the bag. She puts the counter back into the bag. What is the probability that Joe and Mary take counters of different colors? So, what we need to do, we have to work out the probability that there is going to be a blue counter. To work out the probability of a blue counter, what we need to do, we know that probabilities add up to 1. So we have to work out the blue probability. It's going to be 1 minus 0.65. 1 minus 0.65 will give you 0.35. That is the probability for getting a blue. 0.35. That is the blue counter right there. So now, once you have done that, you work out the probability for the blue counter. It says you have to work out the probability that Joe and Mary take different counters. Different colors. So, if he takes different colors, we know that he takes it 2 times, right? So they take it 2 times. So, it's going to be, red and blue. So, red and blue. So, red and blue. So, actually, they only take 1 counter. So, it's going to either be red and blue, or it's going to be blue or red, okay? It's either going to be red or blue or red. So, probability of getting a red counter first is going to be 0.65 times by the blue counter, which is 0.35. You will get a probability of 91 over 400. And then getting a probability of blue counter first, which is 0.35 times 0.65 will give you 91 over 100 again. 400 again. And then we have to work out what is the probability that Joe and Mary take counters at different colors. So I have to add them together. So then it's going to be 91 over 400 plus 91 over 400, which will be equal to 91 over 200 simplified, okay? Remember, you can use a calculator. You guys should know how to use a calculator when you're adding fractions, because it might be it's very time saving if you know how to use your calculator to add fractions with different denominators or whatever, okay? You just need to know how you can add numbers or fractions on your calculator. How is it over 200? It's because when you add them up, you'll know that it's going to be, when you're adding a fraction with the same denominator, you know the denominator is going to be 400. Then 91 plus 91 is 182. And then when you simplify it, it's going to give us 91 over 200, okay? But when you put this into your calculator, it will always give the simplified form. Okay? Now, part B, we know that there are 78 red counters in the back. How many blue counters are there in the back? How many blue counters are there in the back? So we know that 78 counters, we know that 78 is equal to 0.65, or we can say it's equal to 65%. So that 0.65 is 65%, okay? 78 counters is 65% of the counters. We know that the percentage of blue counters is 35%, so we have to go to 35% some way. How do we get 35%? So the first thing you would do is you're going to divide by 13 first on both sides. Divide by 13 on this side and divide by 13 on this side. You're going to have 6 counters is equal to 5%. And then we have to work out how much 35% counters are worth. So you're going to be times by 7 on both sides. 6 times 7, that will be 42 counters equal to 35%. That will be your answer. So the answer is 42 counters. There are 42 blue counters in the back. 42 blue counters in the back. If you don't simplify, will you lose marks? You will not lose marks, because in this question, it doesn't explicitly tell you to simplify. So you do not need to simplify it, okay? So basically, what we are doing in this question, we know that 78 red counters are in the back. We know the probability of a red counter is 0.65. And then we just write 0.65 as a percentage. 0.65 as a percentage is 65%. So we know that 78 is equal to 65%. So we need to go from 65 to 35%, because we know that the percentage of blue counters is 35%. We need to work out how many blue counters there are. We divide by 13 first, because we need to work out what 5% is in order to work out what 35% is, okay? You divide by 13 first to get 5%, then you multiply by 7 to get 35%. Whatever you do to one side, you do the other side as well. So you divide by 13 times by 7 to get 42 blue counters, okay? 42 blue counters. That was a 4-mark question in total. Yes, you can also you can divide by 65 and times by 35. You can also divide by 65 to find 1% and then times by 35, okay? You can also do that. Or you can do it in one step and do it as a fraction. Whatever method you find easy, you can do that. As long as you are getting to 35%, okay? So that was question number 16 done. That was worth 4 marks. So we are actually getting to grade 9 questions now because we're getting to the end of the paper. So the questions are going to get a bit harder and they're going to be like grade 9 or like grade 8, 7-ish. So moving on to question number 17. So P and Q are two numbers such that P is greater than Q. When you subtract 5 from P and subtract 5 from Q, the answers are in the ratio 5 to 1. When you add 20 to P and add 20 to Q, the answer are in the ratio 5 to 2. Find the ratio of P to Q. So we know that if we do P minus 5, if you subtract 5 from P minus 5 to the ratio of Q minus 5, we know that is going to be the ratio 5 to 1. Okay, let's go with the ratio 5 to 1. And now, once you have done that, now we are going to write this as a equation. You're going to write it as an equation. The way we write it as an equation, we just basically cross multiply it. So we're going to have P minus 5, because if we do 1 minus times P minus 1, they stay as P minus 5 is equal to 5 and then Q minus 5. So basically we wrote that as a equation. And then once we have done that, we're going to do the same thing with the other equation we are given. We are given that if you add 20 to P, so if we do 20 plus P, so P plus 20 to the ratio of Q plus 20, that's going to be in the ratio 5 to 2. And now once you've done that, we're now going to cross multiply to get to our equation. That is going to be 2 and then Q2 and then P plus 20 is equal to 5, then Q plus 5 and then in brackets Q plus 20 as well. And now finally, once you have done that, what we're going to do, we know that we're going to have to expand them out. We're going to expand them out. Let's quickly expand this one out. So when you expand this first top one out, you would have P minus 5 is equal to 5Q minus 25. And then for this one, we just have to do 2P plus 40 is equal to 5Q plus 100. And now once we have done that, this is a simultaneous equation question. So remember, this is going to be a simultaneous equation. So we have equation 1. So our first equation, so equation number 1, is going to be equal to P minus 5 is equal to 5Q minus 25. And then equation number 2 is equal to 2P plus 40 is equal to 5Q plus 100. And now once we have done that, we have our two simultaneous equations. Before we do that, we are quickly going to simplify this. So we're going to plus 25. I'm going to plus 5 here from both sides. Add 5 from both sides to get P minus 5Q is equal to minus 20. So we've minus 5Q from both sides and plus 5 on both sides. So basically what we do is that we move all the Q's and P's on one side, all the letters on one side of the equation, and all the numbers on the other side of the equation. I'm going to do the same thing for here. We are going to minus 5Q for here, and then when minus 40 is going to be 2P minus 5Q is equal to 60. Because if you do 100 minus 40, which will give you 60, that will be your answer. Now those are our two simultaneous equations simplified. And now we're going to write them together. So we have 2P minus 5Q is equal to 60. And then we have to multiply this equation by 2. So then that the x and the p variables are going to be the same. We're going to have 2p minus 10q is equal to minus 40, okay? And now once we have done that, we're now going to subtract our two equations. So then minus the equations together. So we're going to subtract, so these two are going to cancel each other out. Minus 5q plus 10q give us 5q is equal to 60 minus 40, 60 plus 40 would be 100. And then we know that q is equal to 20. And then once you have done that, you find the value of q. Now to find the value of our p. To find the value of the p, we're going to substitute it into one of our equations. So we're going to substitute it into this one over here. So we're going to have, I'm going to do it up here. So we're going to have, we have p minus 5q is equal to 20. So if the minus 20, substitute it in, you're going to have p minus 100 is equal to minus 20, meaning that p is equal to 80. Because if you do 5 times 20, it's going to give you 100. That will be your answer. P is equal to 80. Then if you write it as a ratio, we have P to Q. Ratio P to Q is going to be 80 to 20. And when you simplify it, you divide by 20 from both sides. You get 4 to 1. And that will be your finally simplified ratio. Answer will be 4 to 1. And this question is worth 5 marks in total. 5-mark question completed. So give a thumbs up in the chat if you understand and are ready to move on to our next question. So that's basically what we have to do. We have to form our two equations by using our inequality and our ratios, and then work it out. Okay? So we're going to move on to question number 18. So the straight line L1 passes through the points with coordinates 4, 6, and 12, 2. The straight line L2 passes through the origin and has a gradient of -3. The lines L1 and L2 intersect at point P. Find the coordinates of P. So we need to find the coordinates of our intersection. The coordinates of our intersection. So what we need to do is we have to first of all find the gradient of our line 1. So we know that our formula for the gradient, the gradient is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x. So the gradient is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's going to be our formula. So we're going to use these coordinates over here to find the gradient. So we know that's going to be x1 over here, then y1, x2, and y2. Substitute it into our formula. We're going to have 2 minus 6 over 12 minus 4. And now we're going to simplify this. That's going to be minus 4. 2 minus 6 minus 4 over 8. And then it's going to be equal to -1/2. Okay? -1/2 is going to be the gradient of line M. What is M? So basically M means the gradient. Okay? M means the gradients. So you have the gradient of line L1 is -1/2. So we can find the equation of line L1. So we know that's going to be y is equal to half x plus c. We're now going to try to find the y-intercept, this c value. To work out the c value, what we need to do, we have to use one of our coordinates. So we're going to use 4, 6. Substitute in, we're going to have 6 is equal to -1/2. And then 4 plus c, which will give you 6 is equal to -2 plus c. So we know that c is equal to 8. So then our final So our final equation or line 1 is y is equal to minus a half x plus 8. So that is our equation for line 1. Okay, that is an equation for the line 1. So now once we have done that, we know that the straight line L2 passes the origin and has a grade of -3. So if it passes through the origin, if the line passes through the origin, means that if it passes through the points 0, 0, it passes through the point 0, 0, we know that line 2 has an equation of the line of y is equal to -3x. That is the equation of line 2, okay? Basically, it has no y-intercept because it passes through the origin point, so it has no y-intercept. Okay? So now it says the straight lines L2 pass through the origin point has a grade of -3. The lines L1 and line L2 intersect at point P. Find the coordinates of P. So what we need to do, we have to basically put them as an equation. So we know that y is equal. So we know that y is equal to -3x. So we're going to substitute this y negative 3x value into this equation over here. So we know that it intersects is equal to -3x, which is our y value, is equal to negative half x plus 8. Okay? And that is a negative sign, so negative half x is equal to 8. Now once we've done that, we're going to solve to find the value of our x. To find the value of x, we're going to first of all plus a half x, adding a half x. When you add a half x from both sides, you're going to end up with minus 5 over 2. Minus 5 over 2x plus is equal to 8. And then we know that x is equal to minus 16 over 5. So we know the value of our x. We know the value of our x now. Now we just need to find the value of our y. So we know that our x value is 16 and then minus 16 over 5. So now, once you've done that, got x, we need to find the value of y. I'm going to substitute it into this one over here because that's the easier equation to substitute it in. So it's going to do y is equal to -3, and then the x value, which is negative 16 over 5. Remember, guys, do not forget this is a calculator paper, so you can use a calculator. Then you'll get y is equal to 48 over 5. So that's going to be our x value, and that is going to be our y value. And guys, remember, you can keep this as a fraction, the coordinates of the fraction. So our final answer, it's going to be minus 16 over 5 and 48 over 5. That is going to be our x value and our y value. So do you guys understand now? Do you understand this question? So please ask me questions if you don't understand, because now this is the harder questions. So this equation over here, I formed it. So I created it. I created this equation over here to find the value of our x. Okay, how do I form this equation? It's very, very, very simple, because I just combined the line 1 equation with the line 2 equation. We know that y is equal to minus 3x. So we substitute this minus 3x into this equation over here to form this specific equation. And then you substitute it in to find the value of our x. And once you find the value of your x, we can substitute it into our original one to find the value of our y. And that is how you would do it. That question was worth 4 marks. Where does the minus 3x come from? It's because it's in this equation. So as you can see, we have minus 3x in this equation over here. We know that minus 3x is equal to y. That is why we put it instead of the y value, okay? We substitute our minus 3x value into our y value over here. And that is how you get your final equation, okay? Would you get the equation in an equation sheet? So this equation is specific to this equation only, okay? We know that equation of a line is y is equal to mx plus c. You have to remember that it does not come on any equation sheet at all, okay? So moving on to question number 19. So we have an inequality. We have to solve 22, which is less than m squared plus 7 over 4, which is less than 32. You must show all your working. As you can see, this is a very easy question to get. Very easy question to get. Because what you just need to do is you just need to get m on its own, basically. You have to get m on its own, and then that is how you would get your answer, okay? M on its own. So we have 22, which is less than m squared plus 7 over 4, which is less than 32. So the first thing you would do is that you're going to multiply by 4 every single term. So multiply by 4, which will get you 88, which is less than m squared plus 7, which is less than 121. And then, after we have done that, what are we going to do? What are we going to now do to make m on its own? We're going to actually minus 7 from every single number. So minus 7. So you're going to end up with 88 is less than m squared, which is less than 121. And then, once you have done that, we need to do the square root. We need to do the square root, okay? Oh yeah, it's not 121. It is 100 and 100. Actually, it is 121, but over here is 128, and over here is 121. So I mixed that up. So it's 121 and 128 over there. Now, once you've done that, now go to the square root. We're going to do the square root of 88. Okay, that is actually 81 as well. So, that is my mistake, guys. So, now, once we have done that, so now we have to find the square root. So, what is the square root of 81? Now we have to do the square root of every single number. The square root of m, the square root of here, the square root of here, and the square root of here. The square root of 81 is 9, as you guys know. And then which is less than m. Then what is the square root of 121? What is the square root of 121? It's going to be 11. It's going to be plus minus 11. So you can either give two. So there's two answers to this. So you can either give minus 11, then m and 9, or you can give 9, which is less than m, which is less than 11. Okay, it's either answer. Okay, it's either answers will be correct. Okay, because when you do square roots, you can have a plus sign or a negative sign, does not matter. So either answer would be correct. Understand? So that's literally the answer. But I think I'm gonna do the whole number, the positive number. That will be your answer, okay? This is the 2018 paper. This is the 2018 paper. So give a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to move on to our next question. Give a big thumbs up. And guys, do not forget to follow. I do live every single day, both foundation and higher. So moving on to our next question, we have question number 20. This question actually might be a bit difficult now. So we have a frustum of a cone. The diagram shows the frustum is made by removing a cone from the height 3.2 centimeters from a solid cone with height of 6.4 centimeters and a base diameter of 7.2 centimeters. The frustum is joined in a solid hemisphere with a diameter of 7.2 centimeters to form the solid S shown below. The density of the frustum is 2.4 grams per centimeter cubed. The density of the hemisphere is 4.8 grams per centimeter cubed. Calculate the average density of the solid S. So to answer this question, so this question is worth 5 marks. As you can see, they gave you like 2 pages to work this out. So the first thing we have to do, we need to know the formula for our density. So first of all, we know that density is equal to mass divided by the volume. You guys should know that. That is your multiplicative reasoning. So density is equal to mass divided by the volume. You guys should know that already. We need to first of all work out the volume of our big cone. So the big cone, I mean by this cone over here, this is our big cone, that including the removed part. So the volume of a big cone, so the volume of big cone is going to be equal to a third. Remember that we are given our formula, so a third, the volume of cone is a third, then pi, then our radius squared. Our radius is going to be 3.6, which is half of 7.2. Radius, which is 3.6 squared. And then our height is going to be 6.4. And it's going to be 6.4, okay? So once you've got that, then we can put this into your calculator and you're going to get your volume of the big cone, which is equal to 86.8587 then centimeter cubed, okay? And now once you have done that, you're now going to work out the volume of our little cone. So what I mean by the little cone, I mean this cone over here. That's going to be our little cone. Where did I get the 3.6 from? Is because 3.6, this is our radius. I mean that our radius of our cone is our diameter is 7.2. So we know that our radius is always half the diameter, okay? That's why we divide by 2. Always divide by 2, okay? Then we're gonna work out the volume of our little cone. The volume of our little cone. The volume of little cone is going to be equal to the same thing. That'll be a third, then pi. Now our radius here is going to be 1.8 squared. Okay, it's going to be 1 because it's going to be a smaller diameter. Okay, and a radius that's going to be smaller as well. 1.8 squared, and the height is going to be 3.2. Now we're going to do the same thing. Okay. Why is it 1.8? Because if we do half of 3.6, it's going to give you 1.8 basically, because our small cone has a radius which is half of 3.6. And now when you put this into your calculator, you'll get the volume of the small cone, which is equal to 10.8573 centimeter cubed. So now once we have done that, we now need to work out the volume of our frustum. Now to work out the volume of the frustum, is going to be the volume of a big cone minus the volume for the small cone. So going to be the big cone minus the small cone. Now when you do that, the big cone minus the small cone, that will give you an answer of 76.0001 centimeter. Let's just do it. 0.0001 centimeter cubed. Okay. And now, once you have done that, now what we have to do now is work out the volume of our hemisphere. As we know, we need to work out, we are given the volume of the sphere, this sphere over here, but a hemisphere is half a sphere. If you did not know that, then you need to know it, okay? So, since I'm going to quickly move it down a bit over here, so our formula is going to be to calculate the volume of a hemisphere. Volume of hemisphere. The formula is going to be 4 over 3 and then pi r cubed. So 4 over 3 pi, and the radius in here over here is going to be 3.6 because the diameter is 7.2, meaning that our radius is going to be 3.6. We're going to put 3.6 over here cubed, and then you're going to get the volume of our hemisphere, which is 97.716 centimeter cubed. And now, once we have done that, now we need to work out our actual question is to work out the average density. Okay, I meant cubed, guys. I meant cubed. Okay, it's cubed because if you look at the formula, it says cubed. Okay. What I did over here, I actually did 2 over 3. I did 2 over 3 pi 3.6 cubed, because that is a way of working out as the half. But also what you can do is divide it by 2 if you do 4 over 3, okay? You can either do 2 over 3 pi 3.6 cubed, or you can do 4 over 3 pi, then 3 over 6 3.6 cubed. You will get the same answer, okay? And now to work out the average density, because that is our actual question, to work out the average density. So the average density. So let's do the average density. So the average density, we know that a density is equal to mass divided by the volume. So it's going to be the total mass by the total volume. Okay. First thing we have to do, we have to work out the total mass. But we know the total volume already, because to work out the total volume, we have to do 97.716 and then times it by 7. times added by 76.001. So now once you have gotten that, we know that's our thingy. That's our formula. So to work out the mass of the frustum, the mass of the frustum is going to be equal to 97.716. So it's going to be the mass, the volume, which is 97.716, times in it by the density. So the density of the frustum is 2.4, times by 2.4, that will give you 182.4. 182.4 grams. Okay, 182.4 grams done. And then once you have done that, we're doing the same thing but with our hemisphere. To work out the mass of our hemisphere, to work out the mass of the hemisphere, is going to be equal to 97. It's going to be 97.716. Okay, I just realized that I multiplied it by the wrong answer. The number, it was supposed to be the mass of the frustum, which is 76 points. The volume of the frustum was 76.001, and then that will be your answer. That's going to be 97.716 times 4.8 will give you 469.0. So to work out the mass, you have to rearrange this formula. So it's the average density is equal to total mass divided by volume. To work out the mass, you have to do the density times the volume. Okay, density times the volume. That's how you will get your answer. So now, actually, we are not done yet. We have not worked our final answer out. We just worked out the mass. We have to work out the average density of the solid. So, to work out our total mass of our thing, of our shape total mass, just going to be 469.0 plus 182.4 is going to be equal to 651.44 grams. And then our total volume, we can add the total volume up. It is equal to 173.72 centimeter cubed. Once we have done that, what we're going to do to work out the average density, we're going to use our formula of total mass divided by total volume. We're going to do the mass, which is 651.44 over 173.72, which is equal to 3.75 grams per centimeter cubed. And that will be your answer. That will be your average density, okay? Average density will be 3.75. Will be your average density. So this might be a long process, but the thing you just have to do is work out the volume of each of the frustum, to work out the volume of the frustum and the hemisphere, and then you had to use the formula of density is equal to mass divided by volume to work out the total volume and total mass, and then use the formula again to work out the average density of this shape over here, okay? This shape over there. This topic is called working out densities of complex shapes. So our next question is going to be circle theorems. So I'm gonna leave this for like 2 seconds. I was That was the working out. They gave us 2 pages to do the working out. That's when you know you had to do a lot of working out. So, moving on to our next question. Circle theorems. Question number 21. So, A, B, R, and P are 4 points on a circle with center 0. A, O, R, and C are 4 points on a different circle. The 2 circles intersect at points A and R. C, P, A, and CRP and AOB, are straight lines. Prove that CAB is equal, angle CAB is equal to angle ABC. So angle CAB, so it's CAB. So this angle over here, let's label it X degrees, is equal to this angle over here. And I'm going to label that X degrees as well. Okay? CAB and ABC. These 2 angles are equal. I have to prove that these 2 angles are equal. So, how do we do this? Do you guys know how do we start working it out? How do we prove they both are equal? So, the way we do this is that we're going to we'll use the word let ABC. We're going to let ABC is equal to X. We'll make it equal to X. We've already done that in our diagram. That means angle ORB, this angle over here, ORB, so this angle over here, is also equal to X degrees. Why? Angle ORB is equal to X degrees as well. Why? Because we know the angles at the base of an isosceles triangle are equal, okay? Angles at base of an isosceles triangle are equal. So you will have to write down your circle theorems as well, because then that's how you'll get your full marks. So remember, this is our last question, guys. Our last question. And then once we have done that, now we are going to work out this angle over here. This angle over here, how can we work out that angle? What we need to do is we have to basically do the angles on a straight line is equal to 180. So we can work at angle CRO. CRO, this angle over here. Angle CRO equal to 180 minus X, because angles on a straight line. Angles on a straight line add to 180 degrees. That's why our expression is like that. And then angle CAB, remember this is a cyclic quadrilateral over here. So if you look at this, this makes a cyclic quadrilateral. So let me quickly label it. So this over here. This makes a cyclic quadrilateral. Does anyone know in the chat what is the circle theorem that involves cyclic quadrilateral? And that will help us prove that CAB is equal to X, or is equal to ABC. So CAB is equal to X. What is our circle theorem, guys, that involves cyclic quadrilaterals? Yes, it's opposite angles. Is opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180 degrees. And then once we have done that, what we need to do is that if it adds up to 180 degrees, if we if it adds up to 180 degrees, we know that it's going to be equal to x, right? Then we can prove that CAB is equal to ABC, and that will literally give you the full marks, okay? That will give you your full marks. Actually, I don't think you require a calculator for this paper.